Nothing says true love, like your fiance announcing she wants to hyphenate her name with her ex-boyfriend's surname over morning coffee. I should have proposed with a LinkedIn connection request instead of a diamond ring. Ethan, I've been thinking, Vanessa said, stirring her oat milk latte with the precision of a surgeon. Her manicured nails clicked against the ceramic mug like tiny hammers, driving nails into my coffin. I want to keep Logan's name when we get married. Hart West has such a nice ring to it, don't you think? I nearly choked on my scrambled eggs. Hart West? What about Hart Blake? You know, your actual future husband's name? She waved her hand dismissively, the engagement ring I'd spent 3 months' salary on catching the morning light. Blake is so common. Logan's family has connections in the city. The West name opens doors. The West name, I repeated slowly, setting down my fork. You mean your ex-boyfriend's name? The same Logan West who cheated on you with his personal trainer? That's ancient history, Vanessa snapped, her perfectly contoured cheeks flushing slightly. This is about networking, Ethan. My PR firm needs all the advantages it can get. You wouldn't understand. Architecture is different. People don't care about your last name when you're designing buildings. I stared at her across our granite kitchen island, taking in her salon-perfect blonde hair and designer workout clothes. When had she become this person? When had status become more important than the man she was supposedly marrying in 3 weeks? So, let me get this straight, I said, leaning back in my chair. You want to walk down the aisle and promise to love, honor, and cherish me, but you'd prefer to carry another man's name for the networking opportunities? Don't be so dramatic. She checked her phone, scrolling through what I assumed were wedding-related messages. It's just business. Just business. Right. After Vanessa left for her morning Pilates class, I sat alone in our kitchen, staring at the wedding invitations spread across the counter. 300 elegant cards announcing the union of Vanessa Hart and Ethan Blake. I picked up one of the invitations, feeling the expensive cardstock between my fingers. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley, my best friend since college, and the only person who'd had the balls to tell me Vanessa was high maintenance from day one. Coffee later? Need to hear about the wedding planning drama? My popcorn is ready. I typed back, rain check. I have some editing to do. 2 hours later, I was at Kinko's with a flash drive and a plan. The teenager behind the counter looked bored as I handed him the revised invitation file. Rush job, I said. Wedding emergency. He glanced at the screen and snorted. Dude, groom still considering alternatives is harsh. You sure about this? Positive. By noon, I had 300 fresh invitations. Same elegant design, same expensive paper, but with a subtle modification that would make Vanessa's networking dreams a little more complicated. I was back home, carefully replacing the original invitations in their boxes, when my phone exploded with notifications. The bridesmaids group chat, which I'd been reluctantly added to for coordination purposes, was going nuclear. Chloe, the maid of honor and professional drama queen. Ethan, what the hell? Bridesmaid number 2. Is this a joke? Bridesmaid number 3. Vanessa is crying. My phone rang. Vanessa's mother, Patricia Hart, whose voice could cut glass and whose opinion of me ranked somewhere between expired milk and tax audits. Ethan Blake, what is the meaning of this travesty? Good afternoon, Mrs. Hart. Which travesty are we discussing today? Don't you dare take that tone with me. The invitations, you insufferable little man. Groom still considering alternatives? Have you lost your mind? I leaned against the kitchen counter, watching a neighbor walk their dog through our front window. Normal people, living normal lives, probably not dealing with fiancés who wanted to hyphenate with their exes. Actually, Mrs. Hart, I think it's quite accurate. Vanessa wants to hyphenate with her ex-boyfriend's name. I'm simply keeping my options open as well. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, you are a petty, small-minded little worm, and my daughter deserves better. On that, Mrs. Hart, we finally agree on something. I hung up and immediately called my office. Sam, my junior architect and the closest thing to a tech wizard in our firm, answered on the second ring. Sam, I need a favor. How good are you with phone cloning? Depends. How illegal are we talking? Perfectly legal. I just need to keep track of my own fiance's communications. For wedding planning purposes, of course. Oh man, this is about the invitation thing, isn't it? Riley already called me. Dude, you're either a genius or completely insane. Probably both. Can you help me or not? Give me an hour. While I waited for Sam's tech magic, I decided to do some old-fashioned reconnaissance. Vanessa's laptop was still open on the dining room table, her email account conveniently logged in. I scrolled through her recent messages, looking for anything related to Logan West. Bingo. 3 messages from L in the past week. The most recent sent this morning after our breakfast conversation. V. Can't wait to see you tonight? The usual place? L. Her response, sent 20 minutes ago. Yes, he is being difficult about the name thing. Need to talk. The usual place. How romantic. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. Done. You now have access to all her texts and calls. Use this power wisely, Grasshopper. I spent the next hour scrolling through weeks of messages between Vanessa and Logan. The conversation history painted a picture that made my stomach turn. This wasn't just about keeping an ex's name for networking. This was about keeping the ex. Missing you messages. Plans to meet for coffee that lasted 3 hours. And the kicker from 2 weeks ago. Don't worry about E. Once we're married, I'll have the house and the stability. Then we can figure out our real future. Our real future. I set the phone down and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. In the mirror, I looked at myself, really looked. 34 years old, decent looking, successful architect, faithful boyfriend and fiancé. When had I become the placeholder guy? The safe choice while she figured out her real future with someone else? My phone rang. Vanessa. Ethan, we need to talk. I'm coming home. Actually, I think we do need to talk. But first, I have a question. What? Should I RSVP for 3 people to our wedding or just 2? The line went quiet for a long moment. What are you talking about? Nothing, sweetheart. Just wondering if Logan needs a +1. I hung up before she could respond. Vanessa came home like a hurricane in designer heels, slamming the front door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. I was sitting in the living room, her phone in my hand, scrolling through her messages with Logan, like I was reading the morning news. What the hell is wrong with you? She screamed, throwing her purse onto the couch. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? My mother is having a breakdown. The country club is buzzing with gossip. Patricia Whitmore called to ask if we're having marital problems before we're even married. I looked up from the phone, keeping my voice level. Are we having marital problems, Vanessa? Don't turn this around on me. You're the one who sabotaged our wedding invitations like some kind of psychopath. Sabotaged is a strong word. I prefer truth in advertising. I held up her phone. Speaking of truth, want to explain these messages to Logan? Particularly the one about your real future? The color drained from her face. You went through my phone? Your phone was very cooperative. Apparently, you've been planning quite a lot behind my back. Coffee dates, late-night conversations, discussions about how I'm just the stable choice while you figure out what you really want. She lunged for the phone, but I stood up, keeping it out of reach. Give that back. You have no right. I have no right. I'm your fiancé, Vanessa. Or at least, I was until about an hour ago when I realized I'm actually just your financial planning consultant. It's not what you think. Really? Because Logan's message from this morning suggests you're meeting him tonight at the usual place. Which usual place would that be? The coffee shop where you discuss networking strategies? Or the hotel bar where you discuss how to dump your boring architect boyfriend once you've secured the mortgage? Vanessa's composure cracked. The polished PR executive facade crumbled, revealing something uglier underneath. Fine. Yes, I've been talking to Logan. Yes, we've been meeting, but nothing physical has happened. Nothing physical. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just emotional cheating, financial planning, and using me as a placeholder while you sort out your real relationship. Much better. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, she shouted. My career, my family's expectations, the social obligations. Logan gets it. He moves in the right circles. He has connections. And I don't? You design office buildings, Ethan. Logan runs a social media company. He's featured in magazines. People know his name. People know his name because he's a trust fund baby who's never worked a real day in his life. His social media company is 3 employees and a website his daddy paid for. At least he has ambition beyond drawing blueprints. That one stung, and she knew it. I'd worked 60-hour weeks for the past 5 years, building my reputation from nothing. I'd designed 3 major buildings in the city, won awards, earned every client through skill and dedication. But none of that mattered to her anymore. You know what, Vanessa? You're right. Logan is perfect for you. You're both shallow, status-obsessed, and completely hollow inside. You deserve each other. I walked toward the door, grabbing my keys from the hook. Where are you going? To get some air, and to think about whether I want to spend the rest of my life married to someone who sees me as a stepping stone. Ethan, wait, but I was already gone. I drove to Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar downtown. That was the opposite of everywhere Vanessa liked to be seen. Dark wood, cheap beer, and clientele that included construction workers, off-duty cops, and people like me who needed to drink away their problems. Riley was already there, nursing a beer and playing pool with 2 guys I didn't recognize. He saw me walk in and immediately abandoned his game. Holy shit, you actually did it, he said, grinning. The invitations are legendary. Half the city is talking about it. Great, I'm a laughingstock. Are you kidding? You're a hero. Every guy who's ever dealt with a crazy fiancé is buying you drinks tonight. He signaled the bartender. 2 whiskeys, the good stuff. I collapsed onto a bar stool, feeling the weight of the day settling on my shoulders. She's been cheating on me, Riley. Emotionally, at least. Maybe physically, too. With Logan West, the trust fund douchebag? The very same. Apparently, I'm the safe choice, while she figures out her real future with him. Riley whistled low. That's cold, even for her. What are you going to do? I don't know. Cancel the wedding, I guess. Give back the ring. Start over. Or, Riley said, leaning closer, you could make sure she gets exactly what she deserves. What do you mean? I mean, she's been playing games with you for months. Maybe it's time to play some games back. I stared into my whiskey, watching the amber liquid swirl in the glass. I'm not like that, Riley. I don't do revenge. Maybe it's time to learn. Look, I'm not talking about anything illegal or dangerous, but she's humiliated you, lied to you, and basically treated you like garbage. Don't you think she should face some consequences? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text message. From Logan West himself. Heard about the invitation drama. Vanessa deserves better than your petty games. Stay away from her. I showed the message to Riley, who read it and started laughing. Oh, this is perfect. He's actually threatening you. The little rich boy thinks he can intimidate you. It's not funny, Riley. It's hilarious. And it's also your opening. My opening for what? To show both of them exactly who they're messing with. I looked around the bar, taking in the faces of working-class people who'd earned everything they had through sweat and determination. People who didn't get things handed to them by daddy's money or family connections. What did you have in mind? Riley grinned, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. First, we're going to pay Logan a visit. Nothing violent, just a friendly conversation between gentlemen. Then, we're going to make sure Vanessa's networking dreams become a little more complicated. Riley, trust me, Ethan. You've been playing defense your whole life. It's time to go on offense. I finished my whiskey and felt something cold and determined settle in my chest. Vanessa wanted to play games? Logan wanted to threaten me? Fine. Game on. Logan West lived in a glass tower downtown. The kind of building that screamed, new money trying to look like old money. I'd actually consulted on the architectural plans 3 years ago, back when I thought places like this were impressive rather than pretentious. Riley and I sat in my truck across the street, watching the valet parking attendants in their crisp uniforms help residents out of their BMWs and Teslas. There, Riley pointed. Silver Porsche. That's got to be him. Logan stepped out of the car like he was posing for a magazine cover. Designer jeans, expensive sneakers, perfectly styled hair that probably cost more than most people's monthly grocery budget. He handed his keys to the valet, with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never had to park his own car. He looks exactly like I imagined, I said, like a Ken doll that came to life and immediately developed a cocaine habit. Are you sure you want to do this? Riley asked. We could just slash his tires and call it a day. No, I want to look him in the eye. We waited 10 minutes, then walked into the lobby. The doorman, a guy in his 60s who looked like he'd seen everything twice, barely glanced at us. We're here to see Logan West, I said, on penthouse level. Names? Ethan Blake and Riley Morrison. He's expecting us. The doorman called up, spoke quietly into his headset, then nodded toward the elevators. He'll see you. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt like ascending to meet the devil himself. My heart was pounding, but not from fear, from anticipation. Logan's apartment door was already open when we stepped off the elevator. He stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame like he was posing for another invisible camera. Ethan Blake, he said, smirking, the famous architect. And you brought backup. Logan West, I replied, the infamous trust fund baby. And yes, I brought a friend. We followed him into an apartment that looked like it had been decorated by someone with unlimited money and no taste. Everything was white, chrome, and glass. Modern art that probably cost more than my annual salary hung on walls that offered a panoramic view of the city. Nice place, Riley said. It was very sterile. I prefer minimalist, Logan replied, pouring himself a scotch from a crystal decanter. He didn't offer us drinks. So, what brings you to my home? Come to apologize for those ridiculous invitations? Actually, I came to thank you, I said, settling into one of his uncomfortable-looking white leather chairs. Thank me? For showing me who Vanessa really is? I mean, I suspected she was shallow and materialistic, but your little text messages really drove the point home. Logan's smirk faltered slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Don't worry about E. Once we're married, I'll have the house and the stability. Then we can figure out our real future. Ring any bells? The color drained from his face. You read our private messages? I read my fiancé's messages, or should I say, my ex-fiancé's messages. Ex-fiancé? Logan set down his scotch, suddenly looking less confident. Oh yes, the engagement is off, which means Vanessa is all yours, buddy. Congratulations. Logan stared at me for a long moment, and then started laughing. You think I want Vanessa, long-term? Don't you? God, no. She's fun for a few months, but marriage? To that high-maintenance nightmare? I'd rather stick my head in a blender. Riley and I exchanged glances. This was not the conversation I'd expected. Then what was all that about your real future together? I asked. That was her fantasy, not mine. I told her what she wanted to hear because the sex was good and she paid for half our dates. But marry her? Start a life together? Are you insane? The room went very quiet. I could hear traffic 20 floors below, the hum of the air conditioning, the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. Vanessa threw away our relationship, humiliated me publicly, and destroyed our wedding plans for a guy who was just using her for sex and free dinners? Pretty much, yeah. Logan picked up his scotch again, taking a sip. Look, I'm sorry you got caught in the crossfire, but this isn't my problem. Vanessa made her choices. You're right, I said, standing up. This isn't your problem, but it's about to become your problem. Is that a threat? Riley stood up too, all 6'3" of his ex-military frame unfolding like a switchblade. It's a promise. Whoa, hold on. Logan backed up, suddenly looking much less confident. I don't want any trouble. Then you shouldn't have sent me that threatening text, I said. You shouldn't have told me to stay away from my own fiancé. And you definitely shouldn't have been so cavalier about destroying my life for your entertainment. Look, I'll talk to Vanessa, okay? I'll tell her it's over between us. Clean slate. Too late for that, Logan. Way too late. I walked to his floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city below. From up here, everything looked small and manageable. People looked like ants, cars like toys. Problems like things that could be solved with the right perspective. Nice view, I said. Must be expensive to maintain. What are you getting at? Just thinking about status, Logan, about image, about what happens when people find out who you really are. I turned back to face him, and something in my expression made him take another step backward. You see, I'm an architect. I know how to build things up, and I know how to tear them down. Your little social media company, your reputation, your standing in those circles you're so proud of, it's all built on a foundation of lies and daddy's money. Foundations like that are notoriously unstable. You can't touch me, Logan said, but his voice lacked conviction. Can't I? I know people, Logan. Contractors, city inspectors, business owners, journalists, people who actually work for a living, people who don't like spoiled rich kids who think they can play with other people's lives. Riley stepped closer to Logan, close enough that the smaller man had to crane his neck to look up at him. My friend here is being diplomatic, Riley said quietly. I'm not as diplomatic. You hurt him, which means you hurt me, and I don't like being hurt. This is assault, Logan stammered. I'll call the police. And tell them what? I asked. That two men came to your apartment for a conversation, that we looked at your windows and commented on your view, that we stood in your living room and talked about business? Logan looked between Riley and me, finally understanding that his money and connections couldn't protect him from everything. What do you want? He asked. I want you to disappear, I said. I want you to stop taking Vanessa's calls, stop meeting her for coffee, stop filling her head with fantasies about your future together. I want you to become a ghost. And if I don't? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Then I'll make sure everyone in this city knows exactly what kind of man Logan West really is. Starting with your investors, moving on to your social circle, and ending with every gossip blog and society page in town. You're bluffing. Am I? Let's find out. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo I'd taken earlier. Logan and Vanessa kissing in the parking garage of her office building, taken from my truck with a telephoto lens. This was yesterday afternoon, I said, while she was supposedly at a client meeting. I have dozens more, Logan. Time-stamped, dated, with GPS coordinates. How do you think these would look on the front page of the society section? Logan's face went white. You've been following us? I've been protecting my investment, and now I'm liquidating my assets. I walked toward the door, Riley following behind me. Stay away from Vanessa, I said over my shoulder. Stay away from me. Stay away from anyone connected to either of us. Find a new hobby, Logan. Preferably one that doesn't involve other people's relationships. And if I see that Porsche anywhere near my neighborhood, Riley added, I'll introduce you to some friends of mine who aren't as reasonable as we are. We left Logan standing in his sterile apartment, looking like a man who'd just realized his house of cards was built on quicksand. In the elevator, Riley was grinning from ear to ear. That felt good, he said. It felt necessary, I replied. So, what's next? Next, I have a wedding to cancel and a reputation to rebuild. What about Vanessa? I thought about that as we descended 20 floors back to reality. Vanessa is about to learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. The next morning, I woke up in Riley's guest bedroom, with a hangover that felt like a construction crew was jackhammering inside my skull. We'd celebrated our confrontation with Logan by drinking half of Murphy's Tavern dry, and now I was paying the price. My phone had been buzzing all night with calls and texts from Vanessa, but I'd turned it off after the 15th message. Time to face the music. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and one voicemail that was just Vanessa crying for 2 minutes straight. The text messages started apologetic. Please call me. We need to talk. Then desperate. I'm sorry about Logan. It's not what you think. Then angry. You can't just disappear like this. We have a wedding to plan. And finally, delusional. I talked to Logan. He explained everything. Come home so we can work this out. I called Sam while Riley made coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Please tell me you have good news, Sam said by way of greeting. Define good news. You're not in jail, Vanessa hasn't burned down your house, and Logan West hasn't hired a hitman. All true as far as I know. I need you to do me another favor. Shoot. I need you to monitor Vanessa's communications for the next few days. I want to know if she's still talking to Logan, and I want to know what she's telling people about our situation. Dude, that's some next-level spy stuff. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I thought about Vanessa's messages, about her assumption that she could manipulate both Logan and me, about her complete lack of accountability for her actions. I'm sure. How quickly can you set it up? Give me an hour. While Sam worked his technical magic, I drove to my office to handle the professional damage control. My secretary, Mrs. Patterson, looked up from her computer with the expression of someone who'd been fielding uncomfortable phone calls all morning. Mr. Blake, she said carefully, there have been some inquiries about your wedding situation. What kind of inquiries? Well, Mrs. Hart called 3 times asking if you were having a nervous breakdown. Someone from the country club called to ask if the wedding was still happening, and a reporter from the society page wanted to confirm the details about your alternative arrangements. A reporter? Apparently, your invitation situation has become something of a local sensation. The phrase groom still considering alternatives is trending on social media. I sat down heavily in my office chair, staring out the window at the city skyline. Buildings I'd helped design stood against the morning sky, solid and permanent and real, unlike my personal life, which seemed to be crumbling by the hour. My phone rang. Sam. Okay, you're all set up. I can monitor her calls, texts, and emails. But Ethan, you need to be careful with this information. Using it wrong could get you in serious legal trouble. Understood? What's she been up to this morning? Calling Logan every 10 minutes. He's not answering. She's also been texting her bridesmaids, trying to do damage control. And here's the interesting part. She's been calling wedding vendors, trying to salvage the arrangements. She still thinks the wedding is happening? Apparently. She told the caterer that you were having cold feet, but that everything would be back on track by this afternoon. I hung up and stared at the ceiling, trying to process the depth of Vanessa's delusion. Did she really think she could cheat on me, humiliate me, and then smooth everything over with a conversation? Mrs. Patterson knocked on my door. Mr. Blake, there's a woman here to see you. Says she's your neighbor, Mrs. Grafton? Eleanor Grafton was 75 years old, lived 3 houses down from Vanessa and me, and knew more about everyone's business than the FBI. She also made the best chocolate chip cookies in the neighborhood and had always been kind to me. Ethan, dear, she said, settling into the chair across from my desk, with her purse clutched in her lap. I hope you don't mind me stopping by, but I felt you should know what's been happening in the neighborhood. What do you mean, Mrs. Grafton? Well, that young woman of yours has been making quite a spectacle. Yesterday evening after you left, she had a screaming match with someone on the phone in your driveway. The whole street could hear her. I'm sorry about that. Don't apologize, dear. It wasn't your fault. But then, around 10 o'clock, a silver sports car pulled up to your house. A young man went inside and didn't leave until almost midnight. My blood pressure spiked. A silver sports car? Expensive-looking thing. The kind that makes too much noise and costs too much money? Mrs. Grafton leaned forward conspiratorially. I may be old, Ethan, but I'm not blind. That girl is playing games with you. Mrs. Grafton, I appreciate you telling me this, but there's more. She opened her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. I've been watching that house for weeks, taking notes. Call it an old woman's hobby, but I don't like seeing good people get taken advantage of. She handed me the envelope. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Logan's Porsche in my driveway. Logan and Vanessa embracing on my front porch. Logan leaving my house at various times over the past month. How did you... Digital camera with a telephoto lens? My grandson taught me how to use it. Amazing what you can see from an upstairs window with the right equipment. I stared at the photographs, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. The evidence was overwhelming. Vanessa hadn't just been emotionally cheating. She'd been bringing Logan to our house, to our bed, for weeks. Mrs. Grafton, why are you showing me this? Because you're a good man, Ethan. You work hard, you're polite to your neighbors, and you deserve better than that manipulative little witch. She stood up, smoothing down her skirt. Whatever you decide to do with those pictures is up to you. But don't let her make you feel like you're the problem. After Mrs. Grafton left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the photographs spread across my desk. Each image was a nail in the coffin of my relationship. Proof of betrayal that went deeper than I'd imagined. My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Coming to your office, we're going to settle this like adults. I quickly gathered up the photographs and locked them in my desk drawer. If Vanessa wanted to settle this like adults, I was happy to oblige. She arrived 20 minutes later, looking like she'd stepped off the cover of a magazine. Perfect makeup, designer dress, confidence radiating from every pore. She swept into my office like she owned the place. Ethan, this has gone far enough, she announced, not bothering to sit down. I've spent the morning doing damage control for your little stunt with the invitations. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and we need to get back on track. Do we? Yes, I've spoken to Logan, and he's agreed to step back. Our relationship is over. You and I can work through this. How generous of Logan to step back from a relationship that was supposedly just friendship anyway. Don't be sarcastic. It doesn't suit you. I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. She looked confident, in control, like someone who'd never doubted her ability to manipulate any situation to her advantage. Tell me something, Vanessa. When you brought Logan to our house last night, did you use our bed or the guest room? The confidence cracked just for a second. I don't know what you're talking about. Silver Porsche, 10 p.m. to midnight. Mrs. Grafton has excellent eyesight for a 75-year-old. Nothing happened. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop lying. I have photographs, Vanessa. Time-stamped, dated photographs of Logan coming and going from our house for the past month. I have your text messages planning your real future with him. I have evidence of you using me for financial stability while you figured out your actual relationship. She stared at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, Vanessa Hart looked genuinely afraid. What do you want? She asked quietly. I want you to leave my office. I want you to move out of my house. I want you to stop telling people we're getting married because we're not. And I want you to understand that the sweet, accommodating Ethan Blake you thought you could manipulate is gone. You can't just throw away 3 years. I'm not throwing them away. You already did that when you decided I was just the safe choice while you pursued your real interests. Vanessa's composure finally shattered completely. Fine. You want to know the truth? Yes, I was seeing Logan. Yes, I was keeping my options open. But that's what smart women do, Ethan. We don't put all our eggs in one basket with men who design office buildings and think that's impressive. There it is, I said quietly. The real Vanessa Hart. You're damn right it's the real me. And the real me deserves better than a small-time architect who drives a pickup truck and thinks dinner at Olive Garden is romantic. I stood up, walked around my desk, and opened the office door. Get out! Ethan, get out of my office, get out of my house, and get out of my life. We're done. After she left, I sat alone in the sudden silence, feeling like I'd just survived a hurricane. My phone rang almost immediately. Riley. How did it go? She's finally showing her true colors. And Riley? Yeah? I think it's time for phase 2 of our plan.